Hello, welcome to Kay's in the Garden. I'm Kay, and this is my garden. Okay, guys, today we're just going to try to tackle the strawberries. I've got to get those planted. I just got back from vacation. Actually, I've been out for 2 weeks. I took a week of travel for work, and then last week I was celebrating my brother's 70th birthday. And I hope you had a wonderful time, Donnie. I did. I enjoyed myself and I enjoyed my family. So now it's time to get back to the garden. It's time to start planting quite a bit. I up potted my tomatoes again this morning and we'll start hardening those off, which just means that I will need to start bringing them in and out so they get a little bit of exposure to the sunlight, the natural elements outdoors. So I will bring them out tomorrow, which is Monday, the 21st, I believe. I will bring them out. I'll let them sit for about an hour and then I'll bring them back in. When I bring them back in, they will look pretty sad because they won't be used to just the natural elements and the natural sunlight, as we've been giving them artificial wind and artificial sunlight with the grow lights. And then the second day, which will be Tuesday, I will bring them out for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then I will bring them back in. Again, they will look pretty sad, but each day I bring them back in, they will perk back up. And then the third day, fourth and fifth day, I will leave them out a little bit longer, depending on how they're looking. And then eventually they will be acclimated to where they can just stay outdoors. And hopefully that will only take me a week to get that done. I would like to plant next weekend at least the tomatoes, at least quite a bit of the tomatoes. I would like to get planted next week. I was able to up pot my peppers, sweet and spicy peppers, and those won't go out till maybe April or so. Those peppers prefer warmer temperatures, and though we are having some warmer temperatures, we're still pretty cool. Right now it's a very breezy, windy day. I would probably guess maybe low 70s. So back to today. Once we get the strawberries planted, we're going to go inside and I'm going to prepare the potatoes. I've started to get eyes on the potatoes. I want to get those planted next weekend. Actually, I want to get those planted tomorrow. Most of the time, if they're a small potato, I will plant the whole potato. But these are larger potatoes that I got from Haas. And so I want to cut those in half and see if I can get a little bit more of a yield. After the strawberries, we will go inside. I'll explain a little bit more about what we're doing with the potatoes once we're indoors. So let's go ahead and get to the strawberries. Okay, in the side bed is where I have strawberries, and I won't need to really do anything to these except for fertilize them, which I will do that tomorrow or after I finish uppotting the green stalk, just depending on how much light we still have outdoors. But if I zoom in, you can see I'm already starting to get flowers on my strawberries, and there's quite a few over in this area. So we'll start seeing some strawberries forming. I'm about 2 weeks behind on planting in the green stalk, so that's why I'm really rushing to get that done today. So let's move over to the green stalk. From the entrance of the garden, I usually have the green stalk along the back fence there. So just straight ahead, it's usually kind of here in this section. I've already asked my husband to take it down. And so we have it over here on the patio so that we can get replanted. I can't help to come over and take a look at my cabbages. Those are really starting to form a nice head. Those look nice. I just love the way cabbage grows. It looks very ornamental. And a lot of times I don't even want to harvest them. They're so beautiful. Okay, I always get sidetracked. So back to the strawberries. Here is where I have asked my husband to place the green stalk. And as you can see, I have quite a bit of weeds. But I do have some that have strawberries still in them. And I'll just replant those. And then I was able, like I said, to get some strawberry from Haas and I will show you those in a moment. But first, let me show you. I feel like I've learned, or I'm wiser now. Let me bring you in a little bit closer. The soil that I've had my strawberries planted in has been very thick and clay-like. Though it's been rich with compost and nutrients, I'm always fertilizing it, and I didn't know that the soil needed to be light and loamy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all of this soil. Now I won't throw it away. I'll use it to kind of mix in with my soil and other beds. And even for the strawberries, I'll add a little bit because this is some really nice, rich soil. So I don't want to, I'm not going to get rid of it, but it does seem to be getting very compact. And I don't think that's very good for the strawberries. But if you see, once it's kind of separated, it's not heavy or clay-like. I just think it stays too moist. So what I'm going to do is, I have mixed Vermont compost for my seed starting last year and had amazing results. This year I was not able to get it. It didn't become in stock soon enough, and I needed to get my starts. So I just went ahead and purchased some Pro Mix type soil, and that's what I used to start my seeds. But I did go ahead and purchase the Vermont compost because I wanted to mix it in to this strawberry planter. And I'm going to combine it with this Pro Mix type. I think this is more of a coco coir type mix. And it already has perlite in the mix. But I'm going to mix this compost. Well, I've already mixed some in here, but what I'm going to do is take the soil from the planter in one of these green stock planters. I'm going to add it and mix it with this. And we're going to refill them, and then we're going to plant the strawberries. Let me go ahead and get this mixed, and I will bring you back once we're ready to plant the strawberries. Okay, so what I've decided to do is I've noticed as I was filling this up with soil is that this green stock is the original deep pocket planter, which strawberries don't need this much soil, this much room to grow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pine bark nugget and I'm going to put a small layer of the nuggets at the bottom. It will allow drainage, and it also will add some acidity to the soil as it breaks down. But most importantly, it would fill up some of the pockets so that I don't have to put so much soil in each of these because it's really not needed. Okay guys, let me bring you back and show you what I've done. So as you can see here, I've added the pine bark to the bottom of each of the tiers, and just to kind of show you how much I put in here. And then the rest I will fill with soil. As an example, in this level, as well as this level, they have about this much pine bark in the bottom. And then I'll fill the rest of this one with soil, and it will look like this. Now, this could be a genius idea, or it could be a catastrophe. This is just me coming up with an idea of how I can prevent using so much soil in this container when I really don't need that much. And it's a lot less expensive to buy pine bark than it is to buy soil and compost. So I'm hoping this works. Strawberries like an acidic soil, and pine bark, this will allow a lot of drainage. Again, this could be a great idea or not. We'll see. I'll bring you back when we're finished. Okay guys, we're back. And we have all of our tiers filled, and I'm ready to plant my strawberries. And there's different ways you can order or start your strawberries. You can start strawberries from seeds. I've seen lots of videos where people have shaved off the external part of the strawberry that has the seeds on it and just laid it onto maybe paper towel and kept it moist until it sprouted, or laid it on top of soil and allowed it to germinate that way. You can also order strawberries in multiple ways. I have ordered what's considered a bare root strawberry. So it has the crown. This is the crown area here. And let me bring it in a little bit closer. I'm not sure how bright it is out here. It's starting to get dark. But this is the crowned area of the strawberry, and these are the roots. And they come to you dry. I'll post a picture here of what they look like coming out of the box. And you should soak them for 24 hours so that the roots can absorb some of the moisture and be ready to be planted. So these have been soaking for literally 24 hours, or just probably shy, maybe 23 hours. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open them up a little bit and kind of find the center underneath. You do not want to bury the crown. If you do, it suffocates the plant and none of the growth will occur. So as you can see here, it's kind of a harder feel if you were to squeeze it versus all these little roots that are coming out. And then you may see some growth from the top. Putting on my gloves, maybe you can see it better that way. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to plant these, but to continue, another way that you can start strawberries is from strawberries. There are runners that will run. You'll see kind of a stem like this hard part here that will grow out, and you'll see another piece of this strawberry that will grow. If you allow it to touch the soil, it will root and it will create an entirely new strawberry plant. Once you see there's roots, you can cut it from the main plant and you'll then have two separate strawberries. And they continue to do that. It's kind of what they consider like runners. So these runners will have offsprings, which will root and become a separate plant. And then each of them will do that again. So you will go from 2 to 4 to 8 strawberry plants. So you shouldn't really have to continue to order strawberry plants unless you're like me and are not very successful with your soil. Okay, so those are different types of ways a strawberry plant can grow. There are 2, I believe, varieties of strawberries. There's June bearer strawberries, which means they will only bear strawberries in June. And then there are evergreen strawberries, which means they will produce throughout the growing season. Now, I can't right off the top of my head remember the variety that I have here, but I believe they're everbearing. I will put the name of them at the top here, but let me show you how I plant them. So what I'll do is I'll create this little mound in the center that will sit right in this pocket here. So I'll try to spread the roots a little bit. Just kind of push those in there and let the strawberry sit on top of that mound. And then I'll cover up the strawberry. I'll cover up the roots. Now remember, though I backfill this soil over it, I will not cover the crown. Okay, you may think you want to bury that really close. Let me zoom in, let you guys see that a little bit better. As you guys can see, there's quite a bit still out of the soil. Okay. Okay. We're going to continue with that process to the next cell. I'll keep you guys zoomed in so that you can see it. Just going to move some of the soil back since I've got to kind of dig a trench or dig kind of the hole where they're going to be planted. And then I'll just kind of pinch together to create a mound. And then that also will give me some room for those roots. Okay, here's a nice clean strawberry plant. You can see here, this is the crown, a firmer part of the plant, and then you have the roots here at the bottom. And a lot of these already have these runners on them. That's fine, just leave them, they're okay. But as you can see, I already have some growth that's starting on this one. So I'm just going to open up the roots a little bit so I can kind of sit it on the mound. I'll just spread the legs. Doesn't have to be perfect, just to kind of give it a base to sit on. Make sure you get those roots covered. Pack it down a little bit to get contact to the soil. But do not cover the crown. I'll kind of push that back a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to repeat that several times, all the way around. And the reason why I create that mound is because I'm always telling you guys you need to have good soil to root contact. And if you just lay it down, you may have a pocket underneath there where it's not touching soil. And you want to make sure you get good contact with those roots in the soil. You don't want any air pockets. Usually once I plant it, I'll kind of come back and pull the plant up a little bit just to make sure I don't have that crown covered. Okay guys, I'm just going to do this 27 more times and we're going to head inside for the potatoes. Okay guys, we are now in the kitchen where we are going to prepare our potatoes for planting tomorrow. Our first step that I've done is laid them all out. So I have 3 varieties that I received from my Haas Gardening Club. One variety is the Irish Cobbler, which I've never grown before, but just pulling it out of the bag, I'm really enjoying the fact that there are a lot of eyes on this seed potato because it will allow me to plant more potatoes, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. Another variety is a German Butterball. I have grown this before and I do like that variety. And the last one from my garden club is the Viking. And I have grown the Viking before. I'm not sure if I recall if it was a variety that I really liked. One thing I'm noticing, a lot of the eyes on one end of the potato versus all over. I see there's spots where eyes could produce, but I'm not seeing them actually develop quite yet. But I do notice that there are a lot of these knots. I'm not sure what that's from or what's causing that on the seed potato. I don't know if it's rotting or not. I do not see a lot of eyes. So with this seed potato, we might have to plant it whole. Let's keep going. We'll take a look. Another 2 varieties I have here are from my own harvest from last year. I do believe this is a rustic potato, which I really like rustic potatoes. I think they're probably the most popular, like grocery store potato, but I do not see very many eyes on these. And they have been in my pantry for about 2 months now, and I don't see any eyes developing. Now, I have planted potatoes that have not had the large eyes on them, but I think it does better when it does have the eyes. Another variety is this red potato, and it hasn't really started producing eyes, but you can clearly see where they will start producing. And there's quite a few on each of these potatoes. But again, I haven't seen any of them, or I haven't seen any of them developing. But you guys were along with me when I harvest those potatoes, so they're not very old, and I think I may hold off on those as a second round And also I have this third variety that we harvested from my garden. And I think this is a Yukon Gold potato. Again, no eyes. I'm going to keep these and put them in a dark place in a paper bag. See if I can get some eyes on these last three varieties. But what I am going to do is go ahead and prep these three so that we can plant them tomorrow. Now, this variety over here is a purple potato, a purple variety that I didn't plant or purchase for seed like I did these three varieties here. I actually purchased these from Azure Standards, and I used all of them except for I kept about 5 or 6 of them so that I can plant them this year. And the eyes have produced, as you can see, quite well, but the potato seems to be not in the best shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant them still. They're not squishy and soft. They're kind of soft a little bit, but they're not rotting. I don't smell any odor from them, and they do still have some flesh inside. So I'm going to plant those as well, but I don't have to prep them as they are already small and they already have the eyes on them. I'm just going to plant them as is. Okay, now what I'm going to do to prep this is when you're planting a potato, you can plant a potato about the size of an egg. So these two, for example, are pretty much already, I won't do anything for these. I'm going to leave these as is and I will plant them with the eyes kind of facing up. And these are already ready to go. But the larger ones like this can actually get more potato and have more potato plants by dividing this up. So the way that I'm going to divide it is I'm going to try to cut it to at least an egg size or larger. So looking at this one, I can probably get 2, maybe even 3 out of this larger one here. What I look for is when I do cut it, is I'm looking for making sure there's an eye on every section where I cut. So if I cut this one here, this would be 1. And then I'll probably come back and cut it again this direction because there's an eye on each side of that knife. Okay, so that'll give me 3. So I'm going to cut it like this. So that's 1 cut. I have some potential places for eyes, but I definitely have an eye on this potato. The second cut is I'm going to cut it more at an angle like this versus straight because I want to make sure I have enough potato on each piece. Okay, and so that's going to be a second piece, and here is my third, and they each have an eye on the potato. Now, what I'm going to do is let these sit overnight. It's approximately 7 p.m. I'll probably plant these in the morning after church, but I'm going to let this potato dry and scab over. I'm not going to plant it when it's still fresh because it will rotten in the soil. But if I allow it to scab over and kind of dry and harden on the surface, then it will not rot in the ground. Okay, so I'm just going to sit these with the cut piece up so that it gets airflow and it can kind of dry up. Now, before I plant them, I will show you what they look like so you can see what I mean by scabbing over. With this one, I'm going to cut it just kind of right here in the middle. There will be an eye, 2 eyes actually on both sides. And again, I'm going to cut it at an angle because that's going to be the best cut for me to get 2 almost equal sizes. Okay, with enough potato to have a good growth. Now, I've heard if I were to cut this in half and I had an eye here, that could still also be 1. But to be honest with you, each of these will grow, I don't know, 4 or 5. If I mound, maybe even more potatoes. So I just want to be mindful that I don't need to overwork the potato and have too many cuts. Now, this is one that tends to confuse me quite a bit. Where should I cut? Ideally, I should cut here. However, I will only have one eye on this side and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eyes on this side. So I'm trying to decide if I should cut it this way, but at an angle, and I'll have 3 on this side and 1, 2, 3 on that side. Let's see if I can get a good cut if I do it that way. But I want to cut it at an angle so I have enough potato on both sides. Oops. All right, looks like I might have been successful with that cut. So that's a good potato with 3 eyes on it. And then I have 1, 2, 3. There's a small one forming there. And that is definitely the size of a egg or larger. Okay, same thing with this one. Let you take a look at this potato to see if you can decide before I cut it where I should cut it. Okay, now I'm going to show you where I'm going to cut it. Let me know in the comments if your choice to cut it was in the same spot that I chose to cut mine. This one's just a little larger than the size of an egg. I'm not going to cut that. I'll leave it as is. And this one, I think I will cut. Okay, so we've gone from 6 potatoes to 14 seed potatoes that we can plant. Just notice this. I could cut this one again and have 2, but we have 14 potatoes here. I think we're good with the Irish cobbler. So we'll leave these facing upward with a little space in between them for some airflow and let those scab over and be ready for planting tomorrow. Let's move on over to the butterball. Again, we have 2 small potatoes here that are already the size of an egg, so we won't cut those. We'll leave them as is. And these eyes are really small. They haven't really developed that much. But what we're going to do is I might get 3 cuts out of this one. Let's see if we can manage that. Okay. So on this one, 1, 2, and 3 eyes on that one. And again, this is the German butterball, nice creamy yellow center. Especially you can see that compared to the Irish cobbler. Nice creamy yellow flesh inside. I don't want to sit this one down because there's an exposure on both sides to the flesh of the potato. So I'm going to make sure I sit this one upright on its side so that it can dry out and scab over on both sides. On the second piece, we have quite a few eyes on that, so that's great. And on the third piece, we have 1, 2, and what appears to be some spots that could be eyes. But we do have 2, so that'll work. Cut this one at an angle so I can have a good size potato on both ends. And to be honest with you, I'll probably just go ahead and leave this one whole. I just have some really clear eyes on one side. I could probably cut it long ways and then I'll have eyes on both sides, but I already have quite a few pieces, so I think I'll leave that one whole because this large potato, I'm going to have probably 3 cuts on this one. And this one was pretty easy. I actually just kind of sliced it straight down into 3 pieces. The end piece had quite a few. There's 3 on this piece, actually 4 because there's 1 at the bottom. And then the same here, I have 2. Just cut this one at an angle, have quite a few eyes on both ends. So I have 13 cuts now of the butterball. And then moving on to the last one, the Viking, we're just going to do the same thing. So I'll go pretty quickly with this one. The Viking has a red skin. I don't know if you can see that past some of the dirt. It has kind of a reddish skin, but it has a white creamy flesh. This one and this one, these two are going to be pretty tricky. There's quite a few of eyes on the end and not necessarily throughout the potato. So I'm going to cut the end off of this one. And I'm going to cut the end off of this one. There's some eyes there if you can't see that. That would be closer. Now on this one, the large one that I just cut the end off of, there are some eyes here, here, and here. I will go ahead and plant this just to see if something comes up. If not, it will compost in ground and that'll be fine as well. There is a eye here. There's quite a few. Can you see that? Here. And a few here on the end. So this is a really large potato. I'm going to cut this in half because there's quite a few eyes there. There's even some on this knot. I can get it to focus. There's even quite a few on this knot here. And a few there. So we're going to plant this. Again, if they don't all come up, that'll be fine. I'm sure I'll get plenty of potatoes. So we have 12 cuttings of the Viking. This is our first round of potato planting. We have 4 different varieties, and we will get this in the ground tomorrow. Okay guys, that is the end of the video. I have done quite a bit today, some that I had you along with me and some I did not. I did up pot the tomatoes, I up potted the peppers, sweet and spicy, and we also planted our strawberries, our bare root strawberries, and we have prepped our potatoes for planting tomorrow. I will add a quick insert here of me planting the potatoes so that you can see how I go about doing that. So let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully this has been helpful. I want to thank you guys for sticking in there with me as we go through this journey of starting our spring and summer garden from seed, also having to reseed, up potting, and prepping. So next video, what we'll do is talk a lot about the soil and getting our soil ready, because in about a week and a half to 2 weeks, we will start planting out our tomatoes. I really enjoy reading the comments, so keep them coming. Don't hesitate to ask questions. Tell me if there's things that you would like to see. If there's things that you have questions on, I'll do my best to try to answer those to the best of my ability. And keep in mind, we're just doing this together. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you are notified anytime I upload a video. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.